The U.S. Arab Radio Network is the largest Arab and Muslim radio network in America, broadcasting throughout the Midwest region Monday through Friday on WNZK AM 690. U.S. Arab Radio features Arabic and English language programming on every topic, from health, food, and culture to government, politics, and legal issues. Listen live to U.S. Arab Radio in Michigan, Toledo, Ohio, and Windsor, Canada on WNZK AM 690. And in Washington, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia on WDMV 700 AM. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok. So join us every day on the U.S. Arab Radio Network and check out our website at www.arabradio.us.
وسهلا بكل الذين ينضموا للاستماع إلى راديو بلدي أول راديو عربي أمريكي ويعنى بقضايا العرب في المهجر. برامجنا في راديو بلدي كل يوم جمعة من 8 وحتى 9 صباحا في بث حي ومباشر عبر wnzk radio 690 AM. صباح الخير بلدي، صباح الخير لكل مستمعينا.
Welcome to Radio Baladi, the first Arab, Middle Eastern, and American simulcast radio show. Radio Baladi is broadcast every Friday morning on WNZK 690 AM from 8 until 9 Eastern Time on Good Morning, Michigan. Our call-in number 248-557-3300. And now, stay tuned for the best radio talk show on Arab and American issues.
Good morning and thank you for being with us. This is Khalil Hachem with U.S. Arab Radio. We have a great show for you today. ICE has arrested more than 37,000 people last year and detained about 3,000 people, including 170 U.S. citizens. So what to do if ICE stops you? With us this morning is Amy Doukoure. She is the lead attorney at CAIR Michigan. Good morning and thank you for being with us.
Good morning. It's my pleasure.
I appreciate it. You know, again, this is an informational segment. We need to let people know what to do if they are stopped by ICE. So, and let's go by scenario. Let's say I don't have papers and I'm a legal immigrant basically in this country and I get stopped. What should I do?
So it depends on where you're stopped. If you're stopped at a traffic stop, which is where a lot of ICE encounters have been taking place, you should remain calm, remain in your vehicle. You should ask the ICE officer if you are being detained. If he says no, you should go ahead and leave. If he says yes, then you should immediately ask to speak to an attorney. You are not required at these stops to answer any questions about when you came to the U.S., about what your status is, about your really your anything other than your identity, meaning your name and date of birth, and unless you're with an attorney. So you can just say, I'm not going to answer any questions and I'd like to have my attorney present, with the understanding that if you don't produce documentation, it's very likely you're going to be detained and taken to an ICE facility for processing.
Mm-hmm. If I have a green card or a visa, what should I do?
Well, the law requires people who are lawful visa holders or lawful permanent residents carry their documentation on them. What you should do is, it's the same scenario with somebody who's undocumented. What the difference is, you should present your identification proving that you have status to be in the United States, which would be, if you're a green card holder, your green card. If you're a visa holder, it would be your passport from your country of origin with your visa stamped in it, or any letter from USCIS indicating that you have a valid visa to be present in the United States.
Okay. And if I'm a U.S. citizen, whether naturalized or born here, it's the same thing.
So that's a technically, as a U.S. citizen, you're not required to answer any questions at all. They have no basis to detain U.S. citizens. If you say I'm a U.S. citizen, that should be sufficient. However, what we know is happening on the ground, and what the DHS secretary has advised people to do, is if you are a U.S. citizen, you should carry your U.S. passport with you and present that, because as you said at the beginning, ICE is detaining U.S. citizens alongside of immigrants and undocumented individuals. So carrying your passport should alleviate that situation. And if you are a U.S. citizen, you should also immediately ask for a supervisor, because they have special training to help them discern whether or not the detention is lawful.
So I'm in my car. The first thing I do is I shut off the car. Is that correct?
That you don't have to technically shut the car off unless they ask you to. It's better to shut the car off. It keeps people calm, but you're not required. And in this cold weather, it might not be advisable to be sitting in the car with it off.
Sure,
but you
sure,
should
sure.
definitely have it in park. You should definitely put your hands on the wheel. You should definitely remain calm. You do not have to roll your window down all the way, but you do have to roll your window down enough to be able to communicate with any official that's outside the car. And then you should immediately assert your rights. I don't answer questions for ICE. When they ask you to identify yourself, identify your name. If you have status, identify what status you have, whether it's LPR, U.S. citizen, H1B visa holder, whatever the case may be. And then indicate that you are not going to answer any further questions without an attorney present. And if necessary, ask for a supervisor to be brought to the scene.
Okay. If I'm asked to get out of the car, what do I do?
So technically, ICE has broad immigration authority, but they're not technically general law enforcement officers. What you have a right not to exit the vehicle unless they tell you you're being arrested for suspicion of being here undocumented or being removable. However, what we've seen is if you are not removing yourself from the vehicle, they may bust your window in, they may drag you out of the vehicle forcefully, causing injury and property damage. So everybody needs to, sort of make their decision about what their risk tolerance is. We have rights. We should definitely be asserting our rights, but not everybody is going to assert them in the same way, because they have different risk tolerance. As a U.S. citizen, I would absolutely refuse to remove myself from my car for an immigration officer who has no lawful authority over me. But not everybody will be making that decision, I'm sure.
So if I'm asked to get out of the car to diffuse this situation, wouldn't it be better to get out of the car and then close the door?
I mean, it could be, yes.
Yeah.
So, and that's the other thing about remaining calm. We've seen ICE often escalate issues. They're not calm. Some of that is because they're under attack verbally, and people are resisting, which causes frustration. If you remove yourself from the vehicle, you have to understand that you are at imminent risk of apprehension and detention, whether or not you are a U.S. citizen or have lawful status here.
So for common sense purposes and to diffuse the situation, it would be, advantageous for me as somebody who is being asked to, to produce evidence that I am a U.S. citizen. And then, if I can get out of the car, close the door, and then, just be as respectful as possible, do not answer any questions, and, just not allow the situation to escalate. I mean, to me, it sounds like it's more advantageous for me in this situation instead of aggravating the situation.
I don't disagree with that. I think oftentimes, especially for people of color, brown and black immigrants, law enforcement encounters can be inherently risky physically. And the more escalated a situation gets, the more everybody's at risk. So finding ways to de-escalate while maintaining your rights and maintaining your physical safety is always going to be a priority.
Mm-hmm. As far as searching my car, once I close my door, and then if they want to search my car, what are my rights here?
So as I stated, immigration officials have no generalized law enforcement power. They cannot search your car for evidence of criminality. So there's no real purpose for them to search your car. Your right under the U.S. Constitution is to refuse a search of your car at all times. So if you are outside of the car and ICE wants to search the car, we should never be consenting to a search. It serves no legal or legitimate purpose. other than to put us further at risk. So we should be declining requests to search vehicles.
Respectfully declining that request. And now, what if they have a search warrant? Judicial search warrant signed by a judge.
So it's very unlikely that ICE is going to have a judicial search warrant for your vehicle or your home. At most, they would have a judicial warrant for the arrest of a specified individual. So if they have a judge's order or a court order for the arrest of an immigrant or an undocumented individual, then they have an absolute right to arrest that person and take them into custody. But 99% of the time, ICE is not going to get a warrant to search a home or a car.
If now we can move to the home, and if I get a knock on my door, and it doesn't matter what I am, do I let him in?
So regardless of what your status is, or if you have no status, you have the utmost protections constitutionally in your home. If somebody is door knocking, you do not have to answer the door. You absolutely do not have to open the door. You do not have to communicate with the person outside the door. You can ask them, do you have an arrest warrant signed by a judge? If they say yes, then you ask them to either slip it under the door or hold it up to a window that's at ground level so you can review it and ensure that indeed it is a judicial warrant and not an ICE warrant, and that it is signed.
What's the difference?
Sure, there's a huge difference. A judicial warrant will have the name of a court at the top of it. It'll say, in this area, it'll most likely say Eastern District of Michigan, United States Federal Court, Eastern District of Michigan. It'll say arrest warrants. It'll have the name of the person that is to be arrested. It will have their address. It'll be dated, and it'll be signed by a judge that is in the Eastern District of Michigan. That is a lawful warrant that allows them to take you into custody under the constitutional law. ICE has what's called an administrative alien warrant. It is a warrant that they create internally through the USCIS. It's signed by a supervisor. It does not actually provide the lawful ability to arrest somebody. It is their sort of demarcation that they have reason to believe that you're removable from the United States and they want to take you into custody, but it does not have the effect of a judicial warrant. It is just an administrative piece of paper.
What if excuse me, I'm a U.S. citizen, I'm in my car, and then I'm talking to ICE, and calmly and respectfully, and then they ask me to either sign papers or give out information or anything like that. All I have to say is what?
So this really applies to everybody, especially when it comes to signing papers. If you are asked by ICE to sign anything, you should absolutely decline to sign any paperwork without an immigration officer, without an attorney reading it. What we've seen is that people sign documents because they're told that it'll make it easier. They're told that they'll be released, and what they've really done is they've signed a voluntary removal, or they've signed a document giving away their legal right to be in the United States. And once you voluntarily did that, there's no real remedy to stop that. So if you are a lawful permanent resident and you sign that document, you have to start the immigration process from the beginning at that point. So we never sign anything that's presented to us unless we've had an attorney that's been able to review it.
Okay. If I'm a U.S. citizen and I get detained for whatever reason, and I have not I cooperated, but they insisted, because I don't have my passport on me, or I have my driver's license but not my passport. Okay, so, and they decided I'm detained, they take me somewhere. Now what I do?
So the first thing you do is you ask to speak to a supervisor, whether it's in the field or whether it's wherever they take you. You advise them that you are a U.S. citizen, that they should be, running those background checks to make sure in their computer system they have other means to do so. And then you should be immediately asking to call an attorney, and so that you can get an attorney involved to get you released. You can call while you're waiting, you can also call your family members if you have some proof of your citizenship, whether it's your birth certificate, social security card, or a U.S. passport, you can ask that to be brought to you at whatever facility you're being housed at, or whatever agency office that you're being held at and inspected at that time. So those are really the steps that you should take to try to get immediate release from the facility.
Passport or passport card? Passport book or passport card? What's the difference?
So the passport, and there's not really any practical difference. Both of them are considered to be U.S. lawful documents that prove your citizenship to the United States. So if you have a driver's license with a flag on it, that should be sufficient to prove that you're a United States citizen, because it indicates that you have produce your passport at the Secretary of State to get that enhanced license. The passport card itself should be sufficient. It has your photo ID on it, or the passport book, which is what we traditionally think of when we carry and we go overseas and they stamp it in and out. All of those things should be sufficient to prove your U.S. citizenship.
Okay, because when I have the enhanced license, and for me to get that, I had to prove that I was a U.S. citizen, or I am a U.S. citizen. And is there a difference between the enhanced and the real ID?
Yes. So the enhanced license indicates that you've produced your passport, your actual physical passport as a U.S. citizen. That's why it has an American flag on it. Mm-hmm. The real ID has a star on it. And that indicates that you've provided some proof that you are lawfully present in the United States. It doesn't necessarily indicate citizenship. It can, right? I'm a U.S. citizen. I don't have an enhanced license, but I do have the real ID because I produced my passport to get the real ID. However, people who are here on as a lawful permanent resident also have a real ID. People who have student visas have the real ID. People who have H-1B work visas also could have the real ID. So it's not a clear indication that you're a U.S. citizen, just that at the time you got your license, you had lawful presence in the United States.
Okay. We're going to take a short break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Arab Center Washington, D.C. was established in 2015 to serve as a Washington-based authoritative research center on the Arab world and U.S. policies in the region. My name is Khalil Hachem, and I'm the Executive Director of Arab Center, Washington, D.C.
I am Tamara Kharoub. I'm the Deputy Executive Director and Senior Fellow here. Our mission at Arab Center, Washington, D.C. has been to provide Arab perspectives to U.S. policy conversations and to highlight rights-centered approaches to policymaking as a way to serve the causes of human rights, democracy, just and peaceful resolution to conflict, and constructive long-term U.S. interest in the region.
Our work also addresses fundamental aspects of U.S.-Arab relations through timely and objective academic research, policy analysis, and educational exchange, reaching millions of people here in the United States and around the world.
Since our inception, we invested in producing reliable, evidence-based, and inclusive analysis on important issues shaping the Middle East and North Africa.
We would like to invite you personally to check out our publications and events at arabcenterdc.org.
And please follow our social media platforms for timely responses to news, events, and current affairs.
arabcenterdc.org.
A car accident can change your life in an instant. As a result of a car accident, you may become unemployed. As a result of a car accident, you may need a lot of medical treatment. People think that insurance companies are on their side. Why? Because they're giving them one or two benefits. Are they giving them all the benefits they deserve? How would one know unless you consult with an attorney? Call the law offices of Joumana Kirouz at 248-557-3645. 248-557-3645.
Life for Relief and Development has now been rated as one of the best charities for humanitarian aid. Life's humanitarian projects span the globe, and Life is celebrating its 30th anniversary of providing essential life-saving aid to people and communities in 36 countries, regardless of race, color, religion, or cultural background. Where there is life, there is hope. And when disaster occurs here or around the world, including being one of the first responders to the Turkey-Syria earthquake crisis, Life for Relief and Development rushes in to provide provide food, medical aid, and shelter to those in need. We are looking to help the earthquake victims, and we take 0% overhead on emergency donations. So please help improve these efforts. Learn more about our involvement to help the helpless and bring hope where it's needed most, and make your tax-deductible donation to Life for Relief and Development now at lifeusa.org or call 248-424-7493. That's 248-424-7493.
Welcome back, and thank you for being with us. We're discussing with Amy. I'm sorry. I every time I say your last name, I mess it up. Can you correct me?
Sure. It's Doukoure. It's very
Doukoure. Yeah.
Yes.
Is it a French?
It is very French, yes.
Okay. Because every time I say it differently, and I want to pronounce it correctly. So she's the lead attorney at CAIR Michigan. Now, do you receive a lot of calls from people in regard to encounters with ICE?
We do. We've seen an increase in calls for us for people who have either, experienced an ICE encounter and just want to alert us to the fact that ICE is in a general area doing checks, pulling people over and things of that nature. We also are receiving calls from individuals, families, primarily who have been detained by ICE, including people who've been here 30 plus years, have several U.S. citizen children, and normally would have a path to either lawful citizenship lawful residency here, or who have some form of residency here that has now been revoked. So yeah, we're seeing those calls.
And the discussion about going to schools and going to supermarkets and going here and going there. So basically, if somebody, if somebody has a green card, they should have it on them all the time, or they have a certain visa, they should have it on them all the time. But to me, it sounds also like I carry my passport. I don't want to risk it, So I carry my passport, and then I just so you never know what happens. Mm-hmm. And I do want to apply for a passport card because it's easier to carry in the in the wallet, so to see what happened. So would that be your recommendation that we do that?
It is my recommendation that you, if you're a U.S. citizen, that you carry something indicating your U.S. citizenship. If it's not an enhanced license, it should be your passport. If you don't have a passport, I might carry a copy of my birth certificate with me. And not everybody in the United States has a passport. Some people just don't travel, so they've never gotten it. So I would definitely carry with me something that indicates that I'm born here.
Yeah. There has been some talks in the media about that the government reviewing people who has been naturalized a long time ago or recently. Has there been any update on that?
So CAIR Michigan hasn't received any calls regarding that, but what we do know is that denaturalization cases, they've been happening for decades, but they've been infrequent, and the government has set a goal that would more than 200 times increase the amount of denaturalization reviews that are being done each year. So we do know that they've also sort of changed the goalpost, so to speak, as to what would qualify somebody for denaturalization. It used to be that denaturalization was only available to people who received their citizenship via fraud. And now there has been talk from the government that they're going to change that criteria to include things like criminal convictions, or they're going to, kind of go back and see if there are indicators of fraud that otherwise would not have been, sort of reviewed.
Flagged, yeah. How long does it take to do that, to denaturalize? I mean, it take a long time.
It is a long process. So it's the investigation, then the denaturalization actually has to go through a circuit court, through the federal court system. It's not the same as going through the immigration court where they set their own docket, they set their own dates. It's kind of an administrative process. Denaturalization requires an actual court process, and any attorney will tell you nothing in the court moves swiftly.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. And let's say that happens. Would person, let's say they prove that, okay, this person really, his papers were not right 50 years ago, even though he's been here for 50 years, and now Well, then what happened? Did they deport that person? They detain that person?
So they would have to be my understanding is that once you've been denaturalized, you would go through the removal proceedings to make you removable, and then you could be deported. And it could
And
have,
you lose your retirement, you lose,
I mean,
whatever
you could,
assets do you have here? Can you
uh,
sell your home? What can you do?
yeah. So your assets, so there's a difference. So you have constitutionally protected interests in your property. Like property interest is very important. Just because you might not any longer be allowed to live in the United States, and this goes for people who are removed for various reasons, right? Even if they, were here undocumented. If you have assets in the United States, you can take those with you. You can
Yeah.
make arrangements to sell them. You can give somebody power of attorney to effectuate all the things that you need to do so that you can have the benefit of those assets. Not all retirement funds are going to be revoked or inaccessible just because you've been removed from the United States. There are people who retire and move overseas. So there are mechanisms in place to, shield those assets that you've accumulated here.
Yeah. Social Security is out of the question at that time.
I mean, not necessarily. Like,
Yeah.
That remains to be seen.
Yeah.
There are circumstances under which people live overseas and collect their Social Security. Social Security is something that you've paid into.
Yeah.
And I'd be interested to see how that would play out if the government decided to take somebody's Social Security if they've worked for the amount of time that they need to be able to get the credits they need to be qualified for it.
Yeah. So in a nutshell, these are extraordinary times. We need to be prepared. If you have you need to have your papers on you, including your passport, whether you're a citizen or not. And you need to be calm. You need to be respectful. You need to cooperate within the law, within your rights. And then, the more cooperation, things can go smoother. Have I missed anything I didn't ask you that people need to know?
I don't really think so. I think you're absolutely correct. We are living in very unprecedented times, and which require us to take unprecedented measures to keep ourselves and our community members safe. So knowing your rights is important, and knowing how to access legal services if you may need them is also important. So we need to do a little bit better networking with that regard to make sure that when we're seeing ICE in an area, or we know of people who have been picked up by ICE, how we can get resources to those individuals when they need to.
If somebody is detained, do they lose the right to use their phone?
Most of the time, if you're being detained, they're not going to allow you to be on the phone while you're being detained. You do have a right to film. So if you're filming, up until the point where they put you in handcuffs to cart you away, you may have access to your phone for the purpose if you're already filming or if you're already on the phone with people. So I think a lot of times what people are doing is if they see people being detained, they're filming and they're getting that information about who the person is and what other information they might need to contact family members. And at this point in time, being an active bystander is very important. So if you're seeing, like, if they say see something, say something, but right now it's more like see something and do something so that you can assist that person.
Because I hear sometimes, on social media, and then I hear somebody saying, "Well, you cannot, and you're not allowed to film what's going on." So it is. I can still record what's going on.
You can absolutely record what's going on. There's no lawful authority that would stop you from filming an interaction. What you cannot do is film in a way that interferes with whatever action's taking place. So stand at a safe distance, be out of the way, don't interfere, don't be shouting at people in a way that makes people unsafe, but you have the right to film that interaction at any time you see it.
I wish these people who put these videos on social media where they're yelling and screaming and profanity at whether it is ICE or police or anybody else, I wish they stop doing that, because it's not a good precedent. It's not gonna help. I mean, we don't like it to be treated badly. Why should we treat law enforcement badly? And it's not gonna help at all. And then I hope that they stop doing that.
Yeah. I mean, it's not. You're right. It's not beneficial for anybody. It doesn't make the person who's being detained any safer. It doesn't make the situation calmer. And in fact, we've seen that it makes people less safe when that happens.
Exactly. If there is one important thing that we need to take away from this is be as polite as possible, as respectful as possible, understand your rights, and then, hopefully this encounter would be an easy encounter for everybody.
Yeah.
If somebody needs to reach you for any questions or any answers or anything, how can they reach you?
We have 3 ways you can reach us. You can call our office at 248-559-2247. You can reach us at CAIR Michigan at gmail.com, or you can go to our website and fill out an intake form at www.cairmichigan.org.
Could you repeat that phone number one more time?
Sure. It's 248-559-2247.
Sounds good. Amy Doukoure from CAIR Michigan. Thank you so much for being with us, and we really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you.
Absolutely. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. Please stay tuned.
Tired of the complexities of immigration? Haunted by the threat of deportation? Struggling to reunite with your family? Have you ever dreamed of living and working legally in America but don't know where to start? L. Sharnoby and Associates Law Firm, a leader in immigration and naturalization law, offers you legal support across the United States. We specialize in asylum, deportation defense, green cards and citizenship, family reunification, all types of immigration visas. Don't wait any longer. Contact us today and let our expertise lead you toward a secure and stable future. To schedule a consultation, call us at 313-581-9666. That's 313-581-9666. When the aroma of Mahmoud Saleh Basmati fills the air, you know it's going to be a good meal. Extra long pearly white grains that cook up fluffy, separate, and light. Never heavy, never sticky, just pure, fragrant perfection. It's the rice that feels as good as it tastes. Gentle on the stomach and full of energy. Elevate your everyday. Ask for Mahmoud Basmati at your supermarket and taste the difference.
من قلب بافاريا، حيث المذاق يبدأ من النبع. بافاريا سمالت، مشروب شعير بافاريا الخالي من الكحول، الآن بشكل جديد ومنعش ونفس الطعم الرائع. بافاريا سمالت، مشروب شعير غازي خال من الكحول، مصنع من أفضل المكونات الطبيعية والمياه المعدنية العذبة، مع لمسة نبات الجنجل التي تعطيه نكهته المميزة. ولمحبي نكهات الفواكه، تذوقوا بافاريا سمالت بنكهة التفاح الطبيعي وحلاوته المتوازنة. بافاريا سمالت، الانتعاش على أصوله.
Welcome back, and thank you for being with us. This is Khalil Hachem with US Arab Radio. We're going to move to a different topic. It is winter, it is cold, and some people are either sniffling, sneezing, or some people are simply sick. What is going on with the flu season? With us this morning is Dr. Natasha Bagdasarian. She's the Chief Medical Executive for the state of Michigan. Good morning, and thank you for being with us.
Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. So what's going on with the flu?
We had a severe flu season. We are having a severe flu season. It hit us early. It was pretty severe in terms of number of people who ended up in the hospital, number of people who ended up in emergency departments and urgent cares. And it was similar to what has been seen in other countries. So we've been tracking flu in places like the United Kingdom, which saw their flu spike before it hit us, and it was the same sort of pattern with an early severe flu season. But it doesn't mean we're out of the woods yet. The numbers are coming down, but it's always possible that we have a second spike of flu cases. So there are still a lot of people in the hospital right now, and it's not too late to get your flu shot.
Now, is the shot compatible this year more than before, or what are the percentage there?
So there was a specific type of influenza that was spreading in some of these other countries that we were worried about. So this is something called H3N2 subclade K. And there was a concern that there could be more of a mismatch with the vaccine because this was a new strain. However, we do have H3N2 covered in our current vaccine. And the early data that came out of other countries looked at how effective the current vaccine is at keeping people out of the hospital. And what they found was it's about 70 to 75% at keeping kids out of the hospital, even this season. A little bit lower for adults, about 40% for adults, but still effective, still working. Because remember, if you don't get the vaccine, you have 0% protection. So when we compare that to 40% protection or 75% protection, that's pretty good. And the vaccine is not designed to prevent all cases of illness. It's really designed to keep you out of the hospital and out of the emergency room. So if you do end up with the flu still, but you don't end up in the hospital, that's really what we are trying to prevent. We want to keep you at home.
So if I took the vaccine in September, I'm still protected?
You should still be protected. So we generally talk about the best immunity being for the first 4 months. And after that, it does begin to wane a little bit. But you got the current vaccine, and if you got it in September, you still should have some robust immunity to that virus.
Exposure, does it help me as well? Do I build immunity by being exposed to a lot of people?
Theoretically, yes. So theoretically, if you are being exposed to levels of virus in the community, it does keep your immune system sort of working and acting. But I would not recommend exposing yourself to influenza, to known or suspected cases, because again, you never know if it's going to end up being one of those really severe cases. So if you have a friend or family member with a cold or flu, the best thing is to try to prevent transmission and prevent exposure if you can. Getting a vaccine is a much better way of exposing yourself to a safe exposure rather than to the disease itself. So if you've got a family member or friend who is coughing and sneezing, either stay away, or if you can't, the best way is for the sick person to definitely wear a mask, and the person who is trying to protect themselves to also wear a mask and wash their hands.
And COVID, has there been any changes?
So we actually saw a little spike of COVID around the same time that we saw that influenza spike. And those numbers seem to be going down as well. The good news was it was not a bad season for COVID. It was not one of those terrible seasons where we see flu and COVID and another virus called RSV all at the same time. It was mostly all influenza, but it's still only January. And a lot of times our surges of those viruses take place in February, March, or even April. So we may get another surge, and we're just watching those numbers closely.
Now, if we're talking about the flu, are we still talking about pneumonia, or that's a little bit different?
So influenza can turn into pneumonia. If you get a viral infection, your immune system in general is sort of suppressed. And so you can actually end up with a secondary bacterial infection. You can end up with a pneumonia, especially, again, if you end up in the hospital, especially if you end up in the ICU on a ventilator. We see a lot of ventilator-associated pneumonias. So those viruses can turn into a pneumonia. Influenza can cause a pneumonia, but most cases that we're talking about, it is just an influenza-like illness, which is fever, chill, sore throat, runny nose, cough, without the full-fledged pneumonia.
What can we do to protect ourselves other than vaccines?
For all of these things. So this is a great question. There are about 200 different types of subtypes of viruses spreading at this time of year. They like this time of year for a couple of reasons. They are more hardy on surfaces when the weather is cold and dry. So they survive on surfaces for longer. The second thing they do is they love to transmit when we are in indoor air, recirculated air, when we're gathering in indoor spaces. So the holidays are a perfect time for that. People were traveling, they were on airplanes, clustered together at family gatherings. So the key things to do, number one, is of course get your vaccines. So the flu vaccine and the COVID vaccine are annual. There's also an RSV vaccine that is available for either pregnant women or folks who are elderly. So you can talk to your healthcare provider to see if you're eligible for the RSV vaccine. And that's just a one-time vaccine. Now, the other thing to do at this time of year is to make sure that you're getting a healthy diet, that you're eating plenty of fresh fruits and vegetables, that you're getting enough exercise, that you're exposing yourself to sunlight during the day so that you're getting enough sleep at night. And those can be hard to do. The winter is a depressing time. It's dark all the time. We don't get enough light. We don't get to go outside as much as we normally do in the summer. So making sure that you have a routine and that you're taking care of sleep and water and diet and exercise, those are all really important things to do as well.
Absolutely. So what's the update on vaccines?
Well, vaccines across the board, this has been a really difficult year. We've been seeing a lot of changes happen at the federal level that really isn't following the science and the data. So the science and the data on vaccines hasn't changed. We know that especially those childhood vaccines, these are things that save lives. These are things that keep our little ones out of the hospital. Vaccines like the measles, mumps, rubella vaccine have been around for decades. The polio vaccine, again, has been around for decades, saving lives and preventing things like paralysis. And all of these vaccines, we're seeing lower and lower rates of people getting them. And I think a lot of that has to do with some of the confusing messages coming out of the federal government. So in Michigan and many other states, but in Michigan, we issued a standing recommendation advising people to follow the data, advising our healthcare providers to follow the recommendations from the American Academy of Pediatrics. So we want to follow the doctors and the scientists and not make this a political issue. It's really important to follow the guidance from people who understand our kids, who understand healthcare and our patients, and who are really looking at the science.
Yeah. Another issue that is as confusing when we get politics into it, and that's the food pyramid. There has been some noise about that recently. So what do we need to know?
I think most people at the end of the day understand what is a healthy diet. I think people know intuitively that fresh fruits and vegetables are really healthy, that having a big salad for dinner is a really healthy dinner. And we know that adding in things like nuts and healthy fatty fish is a good way to sort of supplement your protein. Adding in things like beans and lentils is another really good way of adding in some protein and fiber. And the controversy is that the new food pyramid that was released by the federal government really emphasizes the role of things like butter and full fat milk and red meat, which we know has a link with heart disease. Yeah. So we know that if you are eating a lot of butter and a lot of full fat milk and red meat, you are increasing your cardiovascular risk. And I'm a physician myself, and a lot of my friends are cardiologists. And if you talk to cardiologists who really specialize in heart health, they will tell you that eating a diet that is high in those animal fats or saturated fats is not healthy for your heart. We do, one place that we do agree is that we know that eating a lot of ultra processed foods is not healthy. So if you are eating packaged foods where the list of ingredients is this long, chances are there are a lot of preservatives in there, and that's not a healthy choice. If you're going to the fresh produce section and you're picking up fresh fruits and vegetables, much healthier choice. And that is one place I think everyone agrees.
Absolutely, yes. Keeping with vegetables and fruits and beans and all of that, and which is the Mediterranean diet.
The Mediterranean diet, yeah, exactly. Yes, and having olive oil on your food, and we sort of know what this means.
Exactly. There's plenty of information out there. It's not like the old days where we can't get it. To get it a lot. Is there anything I haven't asked you that people need to know in regard to whether it's the flu, the vaccines, or anything else?
Well, this is the time of year, again, where people are people are getting sick. There's a lot of illness going around. So I just want to remind folks again that it's not too late to get your vaccines. The COVID and flu vaccine, this is not advice that I only give to you all. This is advice I take myself. I made sure I got them. My husband and son got them. My mom got her vaccines. So this is advice that I use for my own family. I have no ties to any pharmaceutical companies or vaccine companies. This is just advice that I believe in after reviewing the science. And I hope everyone stays safe and healthy out there and stays warm, because this is a brutal winter we're having.
It is. I want to thank you so much for taking the time. And as always, it's been a pleasure to talk to you.
Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. Please stay tuned.
Lead is invisible, but the dangers are real. Michigan's blood lead testing law aims to help identify exposure to lead in young children. All children should be tested for lead at ages 1 and 2. If they've never been tested, they should get a test by age 6. To help your child stay healthy, talk to their doctor about a blood lead test or visit michigan.gov/myleadsafe. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Are you going to start a restaurant or grocery store soon? Do you need floor plans and designs? Call Naji Abood at 734-744-9796. Do you want to buy kitchen and restaurant equipment at discount prices? Call Naji Abood now, 734-744-9796. New Concept Products and Design, the trademark of kitchen equipment. 5% discount on all purchases of $75,000 or more. New Concept Products and Design, new location, 31185 Schoolcraft in Livonia. Learn more at www.newconceptproducts.com. Call Naji Abood, 734-744-9796.
When the aroma of Mahmoud Sela Basmati fills the air, you know it's going to be a good meal. Extra long pearly white grains that cook up fluffy, separate, and light. Never heavy, never sticky, just pure, fragrant perfection. It's the rice that feels as good as it tastes. Gentle on the stomach and full of energy. Elevate your everyday. Ask for Mahmoud Basmati at your supermarket and taste the difference.
Welcome back, and thank you for being with us. This is Khalil Hachem with US Arab Radio. And we're going to shift to a different topic right now, away from medicine. And we're going to be talking about a great program that Michigan Secretary of State, Secretary Benson, is proposing for driver's education. And she's with us this morning to talk to us about the program. Good morning, and thank you for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So what's the program about?
Well, we have worked at the Department of State to ensure that access to driver's education is affordable for all. And we've called on the legislature time and time again to ensure that everyone has access to that opportunity, no matter your zip code or income, to have access to driver's education, believing that every student and family in Michigan deserves that access to high quality, affordable driver's education. We're calling on the legislature to now extend the pilot grant that funds school-based driver's education in Dearborn schools. Senator Camilleri sponsored it. And we're also calling on folks to support Senator Geis's legislation to streamline the process for becoming an instructor. Above all, it's really important that our schools are able to prepare our young people for the jobs of tomorrow, but also to drive to get to those jobs or to get to school, to get to healthcare. So all of that, recognizing that, as Mayor Hammoud pointed out at our press conference, Dearborn is the capital for young drivers. We want to make sure that the program that's working in Dearborn continues and gets extended, and not just in Dearborn, but it's expanded throughout the state.
What is the program in Dearborn, and how does it work?
In Dearborn, the cost of driver's education is covered. It is in the schools of Dearborn, and in many parts of Michigan, families have to find a program, pay the entire cost of driver's education themselves and figure out a way to get the students to and from the session. But in Dearborn, you actually have a program where driver's education is taught in the schools. And because of that, parents, teachers, students, all are working together to ensure that our young people have the opportunity to drive and opportunity to learn how to drive safely. And so we want that program to not just stay in place in Dearborn, because it's going to expire at the end of the fiscal year unless the legislature takes action to extend it. But we also want to ensure that all across the state, other districts allow school-based driver's education programs so that parents don't have to pay extra out of their pocket to ensure their kids know how to drive.
Yeah, it is costly. And I remember when I taught my son how to drive, it was like, $500-600. It's a lot of money. So to make this clear, let's say my daughter is 15 right now, and she's, pretty soon she'll be ready to learn how to drive. So it's part of the Dearborn schools that she can get driving lessons, or this is more education, how to be a safe driver?
It is, you can learn how to drive through Dearborn schools. That is the program right now that has been in place. And it is in place as a pilot program in Wayne Westland as well. And it used to be in every school in the state, you could have access to driver's education programs. And it was removed in 2004. And all we've seen is actually the cost go up for learning how to drive, and less people learning how to drive, less young people learning how to drive in our state, which makes us all less safe.
What kind of support have you seen so far from the legislator in renewing this this program?
Well, I think the legislature needs to hear from students and parents and teachers, anyone who's been affected by the challenges of finding or paying for driver's education, to share their story. Because too often those voices aren't heard in Lansing, and decisions are made without their input, even though it affects every parent, student, teacher in this state. So recognizing that, we're calling on the legislature to not just ensure that the existing programs in Dearborn and in a handful of communities across the state remain in place and that they extend that funding, but also calling on parents and young people to call their lawmakers to ensure that the legislation that is in place to expand driver's training, to expand driver's instructors all throughout our state is enacted, so that we can ensure we're expanding driver's education and making it affordable or free for every family in the state.
This is at the state legislator level and the Senate, or just the state? Or both?
It's in the state Senate right now, and then we'll go to the House before going to the governor.
Oh, okay, for signature.
Yes.
So it does expire this year, fiscal year 26?
The support for the programs in Dearborn expire in October this year.
Okay.
Unless the legislature takes action to extend it.
Okay. And now the legislator wants to either extend it and it'll be like a statewide, or it will be just Dearborn?
Well, we're calling on state lawmakers to approve $5 million to sustain the existing programs in Dearborn and in other parts of the state. And then it would take another $30 million to expand that to districts that don't currently offer school-based driver's education programs. So we're asking for both. And then we're also working with State Senator Erica Geis on legislation to streamline the process to become a qualified instructor, which would address the labor shortage that's oftentimes creating driver's education deserts across Michigan.
You kind of hinted at it a little bit, but I just want our listeners to really understand what they need to do. So what can we do to help you with this endeavor?
Well, again, we want to invite students, parents, teachers, anyone who's been affected by challenges finding or paying for driver's education to share their story. Or if you live in a community where you don't have to pay for driver's education, share your story of how much it works, how important it is to you to maintain that program. You can actually upload a video on social media and tag Michigan SOS on Instagram, or Michigan Secretary of State on TikTok, or email us at secretary@michigan.gov with the subject line, "Am I Driver's Ed?" And if enough of us spread the word about the need for more accessible and affordable options, we can help families all over the state.
Okay. If we need more information on this, where do you find it?
You can go to michigan.gov/SOS and click on driver's education, and that will give you more information about the program.
While I have your attention, we get a lot of calls about the driver's license and IDs and the difference between enhanced and real ID. What's the difference between the two?
A real ID is required by the federal government to drive, to fly, or enter into any, to fly domestically or to enter into any federal building. An enhanced ID is more like a passport, and you can actually take that and use it for entry into Canada or Mexico or any type of land-based travel to another country, which would be Mexico or Canada.
So you'd have to be a U.S. citizen to get the enhanced ID.
Correct.
Okay. And I heard another rumor that you adopted a furry one. At the
That's not a rumor. That's true.
It's true.
One of the true things they're saying. There's not many. That's one of them. Yeah,
what kind of dog
wonderful
is
little
it?
puppy. A little half Labrador, half Retriever named Lily.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
Well,
she's 2 months old, so, and a bundle of fun. She's, every time you leave the room and come back, she's like, "You're back, you're back."
that's a true dog.
Yeah, very,
now
very
now
well.
you have a true friend. So
Exactly.
that's what they told President Clinton when
I
he was in
know.
Washington. Yeah, so you got a dog, now you have a friend in Washington. So.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well,
I told Governor Whitmer when I started running for governor. Now I understand why you got a dog. And once I saw this beautiful puppy, I was like, "Yep, that's my dog."
sounds good. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time to be with us, and we thank you
Always.
for all you do and for this great program.
Yes.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. See you soon.
Mhm. I would like to thank Secretary Benson for being with us this morning. I would also like to thank Dr. Bagdasarian for being with us, and also previously Dr. Attorney Amy Doukoure to being with us from CAIR. And I would like to also reiterate what we talked about in the first segment, and it's very, very important. Okay, it is what it is. We have to obey the law. The fact that being civilized is what we take for granted as Americans, and we love that, and we love being as civilized and democratic. And being civilized is when we are stopped by the authority, we need to be on our best behavior. I want to repeat this. Sometimes you see on social media, these people are arguing with police, arguing with ICE, arguing with authority. It's not going to help you. Be polite, be respectful. Okay. Know your rights. Don't say too much. And then treat them like human being. These are human being. Okay. They're trying to do a job. They have nothing to do with what they've been asked to do. Okay. Now you can argue that some of them are not as as nice as they should be. There may be an argument there, but you control the pace of that argument. First, you need to obey the law. If they turn off your car, okay, so they won't perceive it as a weapon against you, and it's for your safety and everybody else's safety. Turn off your car if you can, if it's not too cold. If you want to turn it back on, ask for permission. I'm cold. Can I turn my car back on? Okay. Second, keep your hands on the steering wheel. Okay. These are people, they fear for their safety. Be nice to them. Okay. Don't use foul words. Be very courteous. Okay. Explain who you are or what you do and how you do it, because you're not going to run away. Okay. So be nice. Make it a very nice. It is up on us. Okay. To make sure this is what we can control. We can control the interaction to be as nice as possible. So it's important to do that. Please keep that in mind. And then, as she said, make sure you have your papers on you. Make sure everything is accurate. Make sure you tell the truth. It is a crime, lying to a federal agent, and you don't want to do that. You don't want to get in any trouble. Anyway, I want to thank Amy for being with us. And then Dr. Bagdasarian talked about all the diseases that, the flu and others. So be safe there, wash your hands, and then take your vaccine if you believe in vaccines, and, talk to your doctor, see if you need to take the vaccine or not. So I'm not advocating anything here. I just want you to be safe. If you're sick, stay home. If you know somebody is sick, don't get near them, and, stay away from them. Eat well, sleep well, trying to manage the stress well. It always helps to keep you healthy. Your health is very important, and if your health is good, you can help yourself, you can help everybody. If your health is not good, I don't care how much money you have, it's not worth it. So you don't want to amass money and then spend it on your health. Okay, make sure your health is good. And then lastly, I want to thank Secretary Benson for being with us, also talking about the driver education program, and hopefully that will be extended and that will be, benefit to our children learning how to drive, learning the right way. I want to thank Mike for great production, and I thank the staff for putting this program together. Thank you so much. You have a wonderful weekend. Hopefully, that I know it's going to be very cold. It is cold today. It's going to be very cold this weekend. So stay safe. If you don't have to go out, stay home. And thanks. I also want to thank Layla Al-Husni for putting this, providing us this opportunity to help you and then to be with you and then give you all this information. We pray for her health, and then we wish her well as well. Thank you so much, and have a good and wonderful weekend.